Hello, gentlemen.
Well,
How
how
are
are
we?
you?
I am good. I am joined today by Delboy Gunner TV and Niall from the Upper Tier, two fantastic football YouTube channels. How are you doing, boys?
Good, good. Thanks for having us on.
What's the bleeding story?
Good to have you, lads. First of all, Delboy, it's your debut on my channel, so I want to you want to tell the viewers about your channel.
Right, about my channel, I wear my heart on my sleeve, just put it that way. I curse a lot, so let's get this out of the fucking way. Yeah, look, I started my channel back in November, December, March, because my son sort of dared me. He says, look, you're always bleeding, giving out about football and Arsenal, and, you think you know everything about football. Why don't you go and get off the armchair and do something about it? So I got off the armchair and I started screaming in shed slash bar that I built through the COVID. And I've been just giving out to a phone here for the last few months, and people are oddly enough subscribing and liking and sharing and fucking commenting and everything like that. But with Arsenal, being an Arsenal supporter, you know yourself, Morris, that there's ups, there's downs, there's downs, there's downs, there's downs, and there's more downs, and then there might be enough. So there's plenty of content out there to get out, and go from there. And I'm just shouting rubbish from me said. Half of it probably doesn't make sense to some people. I've been called all sorts of names, but I'm a thick skin. I can take it on the chin, and that's pretty much my channel.
There's some really bad interference coming from somewhere there, boys.
Could be me. I don't know. I'm gonna mute it.
Yeah, it's coming from your side there, Niall, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second. Though.
I just mute you for a second. Yeah, so you're wearing your old heart on your sleeve anyway, as you were saying. Like, you were over a couple of times this year. Like, what have you been thinking so far this year, man?
Yeah, like the whole sort of thing that I've been thinking just about Arsenal is like at the Emirates, and I was at the Brighton game when we lost 2-0. I was going mad, and it felt like the whole stadium was happy with that result. Um, I wasn't, and I'm just like going like, am I living in a bubble here? We lost 2-0 to Brighton at home, and everyone's just there. Ah, well, let's get on with it. Ah, well, fucking why? We lost at home to Brighton. You know what I mean? And there's clowns singing Super Mikel Arteta and all this stuff. So the standard that the fans are setting for this club is ridiculous. It's unbelievable. I'm sure Niall will tell you, if you go to Liverpool, and I've loads of Liverpool mates, and you'll be watching Champions League football, and all the cop end is hopping. Like, you know what I mean? A European night in Anfield must be unbelievable. And it's a place I must go. I've been to Old Trafford, you know what I mean? And I want to go to Anfield to check that out because, look, I support Arsenal, but I love football. I love watching it. You know what I mean? I love when fans get behind the team and are passionate. I'm a passionate person about my team that I support. And for when I was over at the Brighton game and seeing that, and then after the game, seeing Don Robbie. Oh, fucking Don Robbie. Oh, AFTV. Jesus Christ. You'd swear the fucking Beatles were fucking resurrected and fucking formed again. And they're outside the Tony Adams statue. Are you for fucking real? And I'm there looking at who's here? Like, I'm there. What is fucking Thierry Henry or something? Or is Tony Adams blew out of the fucking statue and he's standing there? No, there's Don Robbie and fucking flu heads from AFTV. And they didn't have that passion inside in the ground, half of them. You know what I mean? And I just straight away, I got the phone out and they were all there. Robbie, picture Robbie, get out of me fucking way. Robbie, how are you? Fucking Turf Boy TV here from Spud FM, fucking Dublin. What's the crack? He's there. What? Yeah, you're live on fucking, you know what I mean? Live. I was just fucking recording and just winging the fucking thing. And yeah, just fucking, he had nothing to say. And I started spitting facts at him then. And he's there stuttering, trying to walk. I kept walking with him and all. And, you know, I think that they're like, Arsenal are well in with them because he doesn't say it how it is now. You know what I mean? A few years ago he did, but they're not now. Say or look into that, whatever you think.
Yeah. Niall, yourself, just about your channel, a lot has changed since you were last on, if you want to fill us in on that.
Yeah, well, we're just pumping shows out now every week. We have the Shankly Sessions one in there, which is the Liverpool one as well. So we cover all the Liverpool matches. We do previews, match reactions, player ratings, all that good stuff. We also do Legends series. On top of that, then we're doing specialty shows. We do interviews, all that kind of stuff. I have a guy on next week, John McNichol is his name. He's an author, and he put together that book Ode to 442. And he has a new book coming out, Ode to The Chosen Ones, and it's football's piano players or something like that. It's really good. So he's coming on Tuesday for an interview and stuff like that. Really, really good and really, really interesting. I love doing the interviews and stuff like that. We also have a blend of League of Ireland guys on. We get on the likes of Richie Baker and all, and Tony O'Dell and all these kind of guys have been on, Felix Healy, some of the managers from back in the day and stuff like that. And we're doing a bit of work now with Legends 11 as well, with Tony out of Legends 11. Coming up soon, we have a Celtic Legends game that we're going to be covering. We did a promo video for that today. So Hartson's coming over, and you'll remember John Collins and guys like that and all from yesteryear. So they're coming over to play Sheriff. And there's another game coming up, a Liverpool Legends one as well, where they're playing up in Newry, and I have to do a video for that as well, a video promo and stuff. So lots of good stuff. Kept really, really busy. It's not really just Liverpool. We cover the whole of the Premier League. And any big match reactions and stuff like that are news. And we have the Monday mashup on a Monday, which is a kind of it's going to move to be a live show in the new season. At the moment, it's a recorded show. It's basically 4 or 5 guys get on a panel there, talk about the results of the weekend, talk about the hot news, and we started touching on transfers. We're going to be doing a double transfer show twice a week throughout the rest of the summer and stuff like that, plus a blend of interviews and legend series and stuff like that. So just for you, Del, we look back at guys like Thierry Henry's career or Didier Drogba, guys who have made a huge impact in the Premier League. And we go back and we look through their career with Arsenal fans or Chelsea fans or whatever it is. We've looked at Zola, we did Aguero when he retired and various other things like that. So we keep ourselves busy. There's a lot to be done. It's a grind every day, and it's really enjoyable. I love my football. So like Del's situation, you can only talk to your son so much about it when you have to start talking to other people about it. So good fun as always.
Me and Niall have done a couple of shows with Niall throughout the year on Arsenal, Del, and then like 1 minute things were looking good, the next minute things were looking fucking terrible, the next thing things were looking okay, not so bad, and then they're back in the fucking gutter again. It's been a roller coaster this year. If you look back if you look back, lads, I'll ask you both this, like to where it started at the start of the year, and the amount of players that this manager got rid of and left himself, and he even done it in January as well, left himself so thin. Like, is he at the end of the day the only one to blame for this?
Do you want to go, Niall, or do you want to?
No, you go. You go ahead, Del, because I have a feeling where this is going to go.
Everyone does, and I'll tell you, Craig's trying to wind me up here now. Craig knows me. Yeah, like you look. The question there, you says, is it just him that is to blame? No, I don't just blame Arteta. Like a lot of people do blame Arteta. It's Edu as well, and fucking Vinay, who, like, he's an accountant to me. He knows nothing about football, and that's fair enough. The Cronkays, everyone's giving out about the Cronkays, and I was only thinking today, I was looking at a channel, Warren's channel, Warren's Team Talk channel, and we're talking about the Cronkays, and like, how they're running the club, and it's terrible. And I agree with them. As an Arsenal fan, I agree with them. It's disgusting what the way they're running the club. As a businessman with my business hat on, they're fucking legends. Like, they are. Reason why I'm saying that is, and everyone's probably there, what the fuck is he talking about? They don't care about Arsenal Football Club. They could have fucking Tranmere Rovers for all they cared. They could have Barnet or anyone else. They just bought a club in England. A big club in England, obviously. They don't know football. They don't watch football. That's grand. They're businessmen, okay? And I'm talking about Stan and Josh's son, okay? And basically, they just basically says, right, let's get Vinay in. He's going to run the long and short. We know Raul Sanelli and all was there, and he's gone. I'm just talking about this season and stuff like that. So Vinay is the man in charge. He got Edu in to do the football end of things. And between them, they got Arteta in. Okay? So basically, you look at this season. The Cronkies will probably ring up the phone or something, whatever they do. How's the club going? First thing he's going to ask is, how's my accounts on Arsenal going? Am I making money? He'll ask his fucking receptionist or whatever, give me the fucking sheet of paper there. How much did we make this month? Right, we're in the green, happy days. Keep doing what you're doing. So Vinay, everything like that, he doesn't know if we've let Aubameyang go or, if we lost to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, got kicked out in January or whatever. He doesn't know them. He doesn't care about them. He cares about the green. They're making profit. So basically, he's then saying, what do the fans want? The fans are singing Super Mikel fucking Arteta. We've got Super Mikel Arteta fucking champion. Well, I'm not even going to sing it. I done a video about it. I hate the fucking song, right? But the fans are singing it. So he's a businessman. Give the fans what they want. Give it to them. So what does he give them? 3-year contract, 8.3 million a year. That's what Arteta signed before the last 2-3 games of the season. The fans wanted that. The fans got it. Okay? What else are they singing? Give it to them. Just keep giving it to them. Well, do you know what Vinay then is saying? If you sign Eddie Nketiah to a contract because they love him, they think he's unbelievable, sign him up. We're going to save millions. We don't need to buy another player then, a striker. We don't have to go paying 50, 60, 70 million for a top striker. We have Eddie. Yeah, grand Eddie. Give him 100 grand a week. Give him a 5-year contract. That's all the Cronkies are doing. The fans want them. El Neni, he played 4 or 5 good games coming up to the end of the season. He's been at the club about 4 or 5 seasons now. He played about 4 or 5 good games. His contract is up at the end of this month. Now, the fans love him. They're singing him in the terrace. Sign him up. Give the fans what they want. Give it to them. That's brilliant business. Let's be honest about it. And as I said, they don't give a fuck about if it's Arsenal. They probably don't even know what the Spurs result was. You know what I mean? So Edu, Vinay, and Arteta are keeping themselves in jobs. Look, just tell them the club, the fans are singing this. They're all happy. Look, record them singing songs and stuff like that. So, no, it's not just Arteta's fault. It's Arteta, Edu, Vinay, and the fans, the deluded fans. Because I have to say, there's a lot of fans out there that are like myself and that can see past this crap that they're dishing out. You know what I mean? I'm so annoyed that this club is the 3rd biggest in English Premier League. There or thereabouts at the minute. But the fan base that this club has, Morris, there's fan bases and clubs and shit all over Ireland, and we're only a small little fart in the fucking Atlantic Ocean. You know what I mean? How many's in the UK? How many's in Spain, France, Australia, America, Canada, India, all these places. It's worldwide. It's like Liverpool. Liverpool have the exact same, China, everything like that. They've such a big fan base. But the fans are singing this fella's songs and everything like that. So no, I it's not just down to him.
But can you defend him getting rid of our best player, Aubameyang? Because he was our best player, and then he's replaced the wage bill, which I keep hearing our fans go on about as well, which is hilarious because you're talking to a fucking billionaire. The wage bill. We got him off the wage bill. I don't know why fans celebrate that. But we've pretty much used his wages nearly, well, we'll say half his wages to sign Eddie and El Neni up as well. But I think El Neni is actually, you probably won't like this, I think he's a useful squad player to have. And I think if you look at the guys that Arteta bought as well, say Tavares and Lokonga, when we lost those 3 games in a row to Brighton, Crystal Palace, and who was it, Southampton? Yeah, Lokonga was in there and Tavares out of their depth. And you look at players like maybe Lucas Torreira could have done a job there. But it was after those 3 games when we played, I think it was Man United and Chelsea, that he actually brought El Neni back in. And it helps stabilise things for him. But I don't know. I just think some of the players he's bought have been terrible as well. What do you think, Niall?
Yeah, look, we did a show, Morris, when Edu did that Sky Sports interview, and you remember the show that we did, and we went, "Oh my God," we couldn't believe what was being said, all this Project Youth stuff and stuff like that. And then, kind of the way the season was panning out, we kind of felt like we had a bit of egg on our face because we were saying, "Jesus, have they actually got it right?" Because some of the stuff they said, that when you'd have your full squad there and your full team playing, then judge the Arsenal side at that stage. And I think then that was kind of in the midst of when you were on a good run and stuff like that. I think what it really boils down to, really, I think the mistake was really in January, where you weakened down the squad so much and you didn't really bring anything in, and that last push towards the end of the season and stuff like that. And they spoke so much about saving on the wage bill and all this kind of stuff, but then when you weigh that up against the money you've missed out on from the Champions League and stuff like that, it probably balances itself out, to be honest, really. And I just think the Aubameyang one is a real tough one because we know he's an absolute world-class player, sensation, goal scorer and all that kind of thing. But I think when it gets that toxic, I don't know where there's anywhere to go. And some people, I know people in your chat and probably people listening will turn around and say, well, it's the strength of a manager that goes in and sorts that out. And when I look back on ourselves, like with Jurgen Klopp, and we do a little bit of a comparison there, when he had a problem with the likes of Sacco, when he showed up late for a training session and made a joke about it, he was out the door to Palace, he was gone. So he took kind of the same approach to a point. Now some would say, well, he also had a couple of players there to lean back on as well. But I think that Aubameyang thing had gotten so toxic. I don't know whether there was a way of fixing it, regardless of the strength, of potentially Mikel Arteta. And I think that would have really been a struggle, And I think it also would have sent a message as well, because you've other stuff going on there within the squad as well, with Granit Xhaka and stuff like that as well. And if you were to kind of bow down and kind of smooth over the Aubameyang thing, then is that sending a message to Granit Xhaka and other players like that as well, that we can really run the asylum here, So I think Arteta had to kind of make a stand. It had gotten so toxic. But I mean, I suppose when you look at it, you should have really gotten top four, and that's where the disappointment really lies. But it's just, for one reason or another, it just ran out of gas. I mean, look at the performance on the last day against Everton. I mean, there was nothing wrong with that performance at all. It's just unfortunately you couldn't get that performance against Spurs and against Newcastle. And that's really what it came down to. Plus the 3 games, Morris, you spoke about, when I think you were 4 points ahead and I think there was a game in hand or something like that or whatever it was. And it's just unfortunate. But then I suppose when you look at the season, and I know you have to remember as well what's happened in the Premier League, it's become such a high level now. And I know, Del, you'll talk about Arsenal. Arsenal are a huge club who should be sitting at the top table in football in terms of Europe and stuff like that and everything. But it's so difficult now, the level in the Premier League, to get top 4 and stuff like that. And if you go down through those managers there, you've got Pep there, then you've got Klopp, then you've got Tuchel, now you've got Conte at Spurs, and then Mikel Arteta is just shy of that. He's in 5th, basically. You know what I mean? And it's just, I suppose if you look at the start of the season and you had looked at that and said, well, if you look at the makeup of this and the way it has gone, and the way things started out, and it was so toxic, bottom of the league with no points, and I think it was a -7 or 8 goal difference or whatever it was at that stage. Absolute disaster. And to think of where he got to, and I think it was probably the disappointment of not getting over the line on that top 4. I think if you hadn't been in a top 4 race and you had been 8th and come 5th, I think people would have a different view on it. I think the fact that you had a card in the game in the top 4 race and you just let it slip, and it probably hurts that you let it slip against your rivals as well in terms of Spurs and stuff like that. But they went in January. They bought players, they strengthened, they brought in Conte and all these kind of things, And I think that's basically just the difference.
I just think with the January thing, not signing, I lost the plot, when the window closed and stuff like that. They were after your man Vlahovic, the guy who went to Juventus.
Yeah, Vlahovic. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, look, I would have been delighted if we got him, but you there has to be a point when you're at negotiations with a player. Certainly, let's say if you're coming up to the last week, right? You ring up Kroenke and just go, okay, we've a week left. This fella wants X amount of money, or he's not coming to us. Can you give us that? Are we allowed to do that? No. Okay. let's look somewhere else. Ivan Toney, you know, we need a striker because we're after getting rid of Aubameyang. Ivan Toney, he's playing for Brentford. Right, get him. We're in a club like Arsenal. You go to, obviously, Ivan Toney, get his representative. It should be a pretty easy deal. You're going from Brentford to Arsenal, and negotiate them with Brentford. How much do you want? Blah blah blah. Do you want Eddie Nketiah as a sweetener? You know, something like that. Because they threw everything into the basket of Lacazette. We need about 10 to 12 to 15 goals from Lacazette from January up until the end of May. They thought that they were going to get that. They didn't. So, you know, that's Edu's fault and Arteta's fault because they did not replace Aubameyang. And if they were told you have to save the wages, that's pretty much, you're not getting anything in the January window. What they should have done was, right, Arteta, Edu should have said, Arteta, take it on the chin. Just move Aubameyang centre forward. That's where we were getting the most productivity out of him. The two of you can fucking hate each other. Roy Keane, Mick McCarthy. Just get on with it. It's a football game. Okay, you mightn't like him, he mightn't like you, but just grind up until the end of the season. You know, no, let's get rid of him. And that's the sort of dictatorship that Arteta runs in the club. You know, he didn't like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Guendouzi. You know, the list goes on. It's my way or no way.
Sorry, Del, is it a big personality problem where you can just keep yes men in the dressing room, people that'll say yes boss, 3 bags full, boss?
Well, see, this is the thing where the El Neni thing comes in as well. Like, I do agree to an extent with you with El Neni. Like, for me, I've no problem with the chap. He is a yes man. Let's be honest about it. He doesn't throw his toys out of the pram if he's not playing. He's been sitting on the bench the whole season, apart from the last few games. You know, so he is what a manager of Arteta wants. Just, I don't need to play him until I really need him. Okay, that's grand. He's not going to complain. He's not going to upset. He's not going to bitch behind my back. You know, and that's the sort of like, that's like, look at our bench basically. Look at Liverpool's bench. Liverpool's bench, I'd say half of them players would get in the Arsenal first 11. Would any of the Arsenal bench get into Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea? We'll even go to Chelsea, Spurs. Would any on the bench? Would El Neni realistically get in the Spurs midfield? They finished fourth, only one position ahead of us, few points. You know, I don't think so. So it's that gap. Like, look at the benches. If you want to go and win a league, obviously your first 11 has to be unbelievable. But you have to have players to come off the bench. Look what Liverpool have. Milner to come off the bench. You know what I mean? The chap is unbelievable. I'd take him at Arsenal all day long. You know? And it's just that's where the gap is as well. It's the bench as well is so important. Lokonga, the poor fella, and I actually back him. He's only a young fella. He's only new to the Premier League. And Arsenal had Torreira, Ainsley Maitland-Niles in January. And the thing, I done a video and I was so fucking angry because we were coming up to a game where it was Nottingham Forest. It was Spurs in the league, the one that got called off, but we had COVID. The whole team had COVID, which they didn't. And then there was another game as well, Nottingham Forest, Spurs, and there was another game in the Premier League or something like that. It could have been United or something, whatever. But we had no one in midfield because Partey was injured and I think Xhaka was suspended or something like that. So they were throwing Lokonga in midfield, in the centre. But I just said, but why would they let Maitland-Niles go? And he says, oh, well, the deal would have fell through with Roma. What? You tell Roma to fuck off. You're willing to just go, oh, please, Roma, can we just have him for another game? No, we want him now. Oh, okay, here, you have him now. What sort of fucking mentality is that? Like, if a club that you're at the time, you're going for the top 4 in the Champions League. Oh, okay, Roma, the deal will fall through. And what's the deal worth? 3-5 million or something like that? To Arsenal is nothing. You know, and that's the whole mentality, and that's the negotiations end of it with Edu as well, which is it's just a disgrace.
Yeah, when you mentioned the squad there, and I've said this to Niall when I was on his podcast a few weeks ago, there was players on our bench this year that didn't even have a fucking photograph in the Premier League official site. That's how short we were left this year. Like,
yeah, that's it. Like, you know, and like why like. Even with I said Maitland-Niles, like the contracts, let's say with Torreira, he would have slotted in perfectly there because they threw Lokonga into the deep end, and he played 2 or 3 bad games, really bad games in a row. I think he was lumped off. Tavares was the same, lumped off. Whereas surely in negotiations, I'd say 80%, I may be wrong, but of loan deals, the parent club can just go, we're short, we're pulling that deal, get the player back to us now. Torreira should have been one of them because we were so short. Imagine if he slotted in there, it may have taken him a game or two to get back into the run of things, but we may have saved 2-3 points in that period. We lost out 2 points to Spurs at the end of the season. That could be in the difference of Champions League football or Europa League football.
What do you think, Niall, looking from the outside, that the biggest problem was this year?
I wonder. That's a good point about Torreira. I like Torreira as a player. There's a bit of Boyd around about him as well, but Boyd in the right way, not like Granit Xhaka, if you know what I mean. Like he gets stuck in, and he's a feisty player in there in midfield, and would have won a bit more battles. When you spoke about Lokonga, yeah, I think he was kind of a little bit exposed when Partey went out injured, and that's when he got hooked. Then I think, yeah, I just wondered in that January window when it was a come down in terms of the when they were reducing the wage bill and stuff like that. I wonder, did the Cronkies really believe that Arteta could deliver a top 4? Or was it just a case of, well, did they really believe that Champions League money would come along? Or was it a case of, we don't think we're going to get it, so let's reduce the wage bill and stuff like that and all, you know what I mean? Because I think if you get to January and you'd have a belief there that this could happen, I think you'd have to go out and get players and you'd have to strengthen. You wouldn't weaken your squad because you'd want to push it through because the Champions League money is huge. You know what I mean? And I just thought that dynamic was weird. But yeah, I think, it's just a whole. It's like what Dell says. You can't really pinpoint it on one particular thing. There's so many cogs in the wheel that are going on that are disjointed and stuff like that. Between Edu, Arteta, Aubameyang, Lacazette not performing. Players going out, other players not coming in, having to use youth, and obviously we have to say as well, like, I mean, losing Tierney was huge as well, you know what I mean? You lost him for an awful lot of games as well, and he, to me, I mean, Morris, we spoke a number of times about him.
It was always going to happen.
Yeah, but I mean, if you could get him to stay fit, and we've had our own problems with players not being fit and stuff like that, Kate and Matip and stuff like that, you eventually, with sports science and stuff like that, you can figure something out to keep them fit somewhere, And I just think with him, I mean, we were talking, Morris, about him potentially being an Arsenal future captain. He was absolutely brilliant at parts in the season this year. And I just think he was a big loss, I mean, he's the equivalent of us losing a Robbo or losing a Trent and stuff like that, it's massive. And you're seeing what happened with Chelsea as well when they lost Chilwell and they lost Reece James, you know what I mean? It has a massive effect because that's how teams attack now. That's the purpose of their attack, and I think he was a huge loss. But yeah, I just think that they spun the roulette wheel in January and they tried to get over the line, and as I said, they just fell short.
But even Niall,
it's very hard to judge it, Del, isn't it? Because you were so close, and when you're so close, that's when it's a tough one to take. But I think if you look at the overall picture, and as I said earlier, I see if you talk about like the managers that are there now, if you look the stack of managers in the Premier League now, it's so tough to get top 4. You know what I mean? Even look at the title race. A couple of losses on a draw, and the title race is gone. You know what I mean? It's just. It's an unbelievable task now to be so competitive in the Premier League, and then you've got so much money coming in now with the likes of Newcastle and Aston Villa. Look at Aston Villa with Stevie today, signing players to beat the band. Kamara's after coming in, they just signed your man Diogo and stuff like that, and like they're just bringing in players to beat the band, and it's just going to get tougher and tougher and tougher. And I think the landscape in the Premier League is going to change greatly over the next 5 years.
I think we're in danger of getting left behind, though, money-wise. If they're going to be penny pinching, but at the same time, you have to remember, what has Arteta spent? Quarter of a billion, 250 million. It's a lot of money as well. At the same time,
it's unbelievable, and like the money that they have spent, and the players, as we were just saying, like on the bench and stuff like that. Like Jesus, you wouldn't think, like, you'd be thinking Liverpool or Man City are the ones who have spent $250 million. And this summer now, like, we're after signing Eddie Nketiah, your man Balogun, who was out on loan at Middlesbrough, he's going to come back now. Oh, he has experience. So there's your 2 strikers. We need 3 in total. So they'll probably go for Jesus or whatever, or someone else, Tammy Abraham or whatever they're fucking linked with, and he's your superstar striker, not good enough. I don't think, I think you probably need someone like Jesus and a Tamier, the 2 of them together, so if one's injured or something like that, you have a bit of quality to come back in. But, we're going to go penny pension again because your Torreira could come back and he could be the answer for midfield. We are short in midfield. We know that El Nenny's staying in midfield. Will they sign another midfielder? Telemans were linked with. Yeah, okay, but will they get him? You know what I mean? They might drag it out and out and out and out until the last week of the window again, and something will happen. Newcastle will come in. We all seen that they're going buying big as well. And let's look at who will buy big this season. We know Newcastle. United are going to throw truckloads of money at this manager because they cannot. They're hungry for success now. United, I think, give them 2 seasons. I think they'll be back up there, getting into the top 4 anyway, if this manager clicks. But this is the money that they're going to be spending. I think Arsenal are going to fade down into the lower end of the Europa sort of league, Conference League area because, as you just says there, Villa, if Stevie Gerrard's a season under his belt now, he will look for the Liverpool job in a few seasons when Klopp does go. We all know that. So he needs to put in 1 or 2 good, strong performances in the Premier League. And he's obviously said that to the Aston Villa owners. Back me now. I need this player, that player, and him. That's who I want. And if they click, that's Arsenal getting dragged back down. West Ham, Leicester, I just think I cannot see. And this is the whole thing about the Eddie Nketiah contract. 100 grand a week, 5 fucking years. So if he doesn't click next year and he scores again, 5 goals as if he has all season or whatever it is, for a striker, okay, and he's going to be given much more game time. So he's going to get, let's say, so he'll have 4 years left in his contract on 100 grand a week. What team is going to buy him? No one. Because let's say he'll be a lower level in the Premier League. No team down there is going to be paying 100 grand a week for Eddie Nketiah. It's bad. I just think next season is just going to be a shambles.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to be given money to spend, and I think there's a lot of really good players out there at the moment that can be picked up for reasonable money. I've heard Villa linked with Basuma today for 30 million. 30 million for Basuma off Brighton is an absolute snip. Box-to-box midfielder. Absolutely quality. And Arsenal should be right in at the front of that deal there because Arsenal can really offer Basuma so much more than Villa if they get their house in order. And I just think to sit back and look at those deals, you see Kamara going in there on a free. How does that happen? Like when you've got Arsenal looking for players like that and on a free as well. And I know the way things are panning out this year as well. A number of teams are going to have to take in free agents. They can't just be banging out money, signing on fees and stuff like that, massive agent fees and all that this season. And I think the likes of Basuma's in there, Cucurella at Brighton as well, absolutely outstanding player there as well. There's so many players out there that could fill some of those positions that are out there that are at Arsenal and stuff like that. And you could go out there and do really, really good deals without having to spend big money. And look, I'm not always the best judge of a player, as Morris will tell you. I couldn't understand the signing of Ramsdale when it happened. I thought that was absolutely crazy. And I've mud on my face over that because I think he's been excellent. But I just think that there's lots of players out there available. If you look to the French league, there's value in the French league and around Europe at the moment. And surely they got Arsenal with its history with the French league and with French players and Wenger and stuff like that. Surely they have a great scouting network around the French league to pick up really quality players. And then even looking down into the championship and stuff like that, you see we're after spending, 5 million on Carvalho. An absolute snip if you've seen that guy playing last year in the championship. He's absolute quality. He's going to be a world-class player. And even a simple deal like the Luis Diaz one in January, where we picked him up for 40 million, and I think they owed us 10 million for Grealish, so it was like a 30 million deal or something like that net. Like, there is players out there you can pick up. I think Man City picked up Julian Alvarez out of the South American League, 25 million or something like that. This guy is unbelievable. You know what I mean? But I just think if you have the right scouting network and you have the right purpose about you, I think you'll get players in. There's no problem. And you don't have to spend you don't have to reinvent the wheel by spending 400 million or something like that. You can get players in for the 25 to 30 million and do a really, really good job. Regenerate the squad, rejuvenate it and stuff like that and get you going. You definitely need a guy up front. There's no doubt about it. And I suppose if you're looking at Arsenal as well, Arsenal wants to be a top 4 team, but also to challenge, not just a top 4 team. Because remember, Wenger had us as a top 4 team for years and years and years. To the point where it wasn't enough and it kind of outed him in the end, really, because he sort of pitched it as a trophy. But I think, like, if you want to be in that top 4 team, you mentioned, Dale, about 100 grand a week for Eddie Nketiah over a 5-year deal. At that level now, 100 grand a week is a squad player. At that level. And that's what I think. I think Arsenal, as you said earlier with the fan base, they've lowered their expectation. You need to dream bigger. You need to think, like, I was a huge fan of Arsenal back in the 90s and in the early 2000s, stuff like that. The way they played when Wenger came in, changed the whole game around, got so scientific about it and stuff like that. But the football they used to play there with Petit and Overmars and Pires and Vieira and all these players, it was just Dennis Bergkamp. It was absolutely sublime, you know what I mean? And I think what happened is not dissimilar to ourselves. You just lost your way. And we lost our way, and we lost our way for 30 years. You know what I mean? And it's you know, you can convince yourself that you're a big club still in every facet of it, bar what's important. And that's what happened with Liverpool and with the Liverpool fan base as well. For 30 years, we still thought that we were top of the table stuff, that we were the cream of the crop. But what happened was when we went into the market, not that it's similar to yourselves at times, we never got our first choice guy. We never even got our second choice guy. Sometimes we had to settle for third and fourth. And that's what kept us in the dire, in that mire, in that area for years and years and years, accepting third and fourth and seeing all these great players go to United, go to Arsenal, go to Chelsea, go to Man City, all these teams. And I think that's what's changed for us. The mentality has changed that now if we have a target, that's the target that we go for. If he's not available, we wait. But we always have a backup plan of a similar quality and stuff like that. And I think with Arsenal, I think there's potentially great business there to be done in the summer. I think they will have learned a lot from just falling short and what they did in January. And I don't expect them to repeat that. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Del, but I don't know. I mean, how much longer would you give Arteta? I mean, will you give him another season and see how it goes and then it's done if it doesn't pan out? Or
no, I was, even if we got top 4, sack him. Like, that's because the simple fact is, like, I've been over to the Emirates twice this season, and his tactics, everything was just it was just so bad. Like I could see it, and I always say I'm just a fucking idiot. Like, you know what I mean? I know it's no more than me or you or anyone else. You know, I'm not a professional, but I could see it. You know what I mean? And this is the fucking thing. Like, if I can fucking see it, you know what I mean? What other managers, you know, Klopp, like, what can he, like, they know how to play against Arsenal, all these big teams, and, like, you know, even Graham Potter, like, you know, he was fucking, he slapped Arteta's tactics around. I'd say he was just laughing. And even just watching, I was watching Graham Potter at the game. He's so calm. He knew he had his tactics. He wasn't screaming and landing fucking airplanes like Arteta does be on the line and doing this, and, like, you know, you're confusing fucking players, you know. And to even go back to what you were saying there in Ireland, it makes a lot, like, it's fucking facts, like, you know, the scouting networks and the whole thing. What I'm saying about Edu, like, you know, the saying, you wouldn't let him fucking organise a piss up in a brewery. Like, the chap is not a wheeler dealer, you know. You need that as well. Like, you know, talk about it. Like, if I had to go in and negotiate something with him, I'd have his fucking pants around his ankles and pushed over, fucking, you know what I mean? He just wouldn't be able to deal with someone like me. So imagine dealing with a professional guy who does this all the time. You know what I mean? Negotiating for players and stuff like that. The chap just hasn't a clue. He's an ex-footballer. He went into a role in international level. So they're your players, they're Brazilian players. You don't need to negotiate anything with them. They want to come and play for the Brazilian national team. It's as simple as that. Now he's gone into a role where you have to negotiate with agents, with clubs, solicitors, and whoever else is fucking involved in it. You know what I mean? So he's out of his depth. You know, and if I'm the Kroenkes and I wanted success at Arsenal, let's say, like, oh, I want to win a trophy, which they don't. And the reason why I'm saying that is because he doesn't care about the Premier League or the FA Cup. He doesn't care. He's into baseball and all this and all his franchises in America. So football to him, he's just there thinking, well, it's a global sport. I can make money. The league that were the Super League that we're going, geez, you can make a lot of money if we fucking get in there. Right, buy Arsenal there quick and get the 100% sharehold of it. So if he wanted to, like, if you owned a Niall, let's say, you're just there, I get an independent person in. This is what I do. Why are we not challenging for the league? I want to win the league. That's the number one target. Right. I'm going to get an independent person to go into Arsenal. He's not related to Ed Dewar. He doesn't know Arteta and he doesn't know Vinay or anyone else. His job is to come back and tell me what is wrong with the club. Why did we not get Tillemans, for example, when he was in Monaco, and they got him cheap? Why did we not get Robinson, the guy that you got off Hull that time? Why did Arsenal? And how much did you get? 5-6 million, something stupid like that. Why did Arsenal not go and get him? Why are we paying? We'll just say 30 million for Tierney. Why did we have to spend that amount of money when Robinson's just as good? He's better. Why did they only pay that? I'd be asking them questions. So, like, okay, it's the scouting system needs to be fucking brushed up. Who was one of the best scouting systems in the league? Leicester have fucking really good scouts. Let's be honest about it. The players that they pull out. You know, look at the team that they won the league with. You know, Kante, Mahrez, fucking Tillemans, whoever else. You know, Danny Drinkwater. Like, you know, I know he's like, you know, but look at that team. They got them for fucking a shoestring. Why are Arsenal going out and spending $250 million? And look, we're not even near challenging for the league. And we fell into this top four race this season. Simple fact, Spurs had a useless start to the season. They ended up sacking Nuno. United were shit. Leicester were brutal. And West Ham just fizzled off. And Arsenal just sort of fell into that position. They went on a 6-game winning streak. Then they go and lose 3 to teams they should have been beaten. The team we bet Chelsea. Chelsea were they were useless that day. They had a good lot of players out. Man United, if Ronaldo took that penalty, United would have beaten us. That game was 3-1. That would have brought it back, I think, to 2-2 or something like that at the time. And Ronaldo, if he scored a penalty, usually he'll fucking go and get a winner. So this is where we're at. But that will never happen. What I'm saying is, if they just get someone outside that's a footballer that knows the ins and outs of football to go in and just say, right, you need this, this, and this, that might sort your club out.
Yeah, I suppose, Morris, the flip side of that as well, and I suppose the counter argument dealt to that is, like, if you look at the Man City game, where you performed really, really well, and only for 2 moments of madness. Obviously, Granit Xhaka with the penalty, and obviously, I think it was it Gabriel with the short pull after the free kick thing. Just 2 moments of stupidity, really. But, like, you were giving those guys a proper match that day. And this is Man City, who are absolutely brilliant, head and shoulders above most teams, world-class players all around the pitch. At one stage in that game, you were playing them off the park. And actually, I spoke to you, Morris, about it. At one stage in that game, I thought you were going to do them. And then only for those stupid moments. And I suppose you can turn around and go, well, yeah, it's those stupid moments. But it just goes to show, at times in Arsenal, it's the consistency, really, isn't it? Because at times Arsenal have shown flashes where they really can do it. I mean, you see them going out there the other day and putting Everton to the sword. And Everton are a tough team to beat with the likes of Richarlison and stuff like that in there. They're no pushovers. And I know some people will say, yeah, but they were on the beach, they'd survived, they'd sorted relegation and all that. But you still have to go out and beat them. And you put, 5 by them? What was it, 5-1 or 5-2 or something on the day? Or
5-1.
Whatever it was. Yeah, you know what I mean? So there is times when the team can perform. But then you look at other times, say, like, was it the Newcastle game, where Granit Xhaka came out after the Newcastle game and says, well, we went out on the pitch and we didn't do what the manager asked us to do. And you're thinking, But kind of where does the blame lie then? If a manager comes up with a game plan and he puts you out there and he says, this is what we want to do, and you go out there and you can't do it. Now, maybe it's a case that you can't do it, or maybe it's a case that maybe you don't have the quality to do it and you recognize that early on, whatever it is. But I don't know. Again, this is my problem when I look at Arsenal. I can't really put my finger on what it is. There's times this season been really good. You came up to Anfield, I think it was in the Carabao Cup, and you held us to a draw. And we had to go down to your place to get it done and stuff like that, So there has been moments this season where you have performed, you know what I mean? And you've just at times just been either just a little bit short or a little bit unlucky, Then there's other times, like, as you said, the Spurs game, the Newcastle game, were just, you just really threw in the towel and stuff like that. And it's horrible to see and stuff like that. But
like,
I honestly think... Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, no, the only thing I'd say, like, I'd love to have seen, let's say, back in January, if, let's say, there was a time there we went through a few games and we lost about 3 or 4 games in a row or something like that. That was the time to sack him for me. And at the time, Conte was available, I think, I think he was available or something like that. Like,
he only just signed or something. He was there, like, yeah.
I was just like, Jesus, can you imagine if he had this Arsenal team, let's say a young squad or whatever, and then give him, let's say, from January, February, whenever it was, and see out the season and just go, right, I now know what I need for this football club to get into the top 4 next season, and then the following season to challenge for the league title. So that's what should have happened. So give him 6 months or whatever in the job. Right, I need a centre midfielder. I need a backup left back. I need a new backup keeper, striker, whatever. And then go out and demand, this is the players I want. Go and get them. But the whole thing is going back to, like, when Klopp joined Liverpool, he changed the whole dynamic of the club. Now, you might tell me wrong. Just from an outsider looking into Liverpool, he demanded the background stuff, like the backroom staff and everything like that, the scouting, everything like that. He demanded, this is what you need done. I want that done, and that done. And that builds, that's the rebuild that Liverpool needed. I just think with our rebuild, it's like we're after building a chair with 3 legs on it. We needed another leg and it's going to come fucking crumbling down. That's what I think. But for the push that Klopp done, now you might tell me different, but the push, it just seems that he built the foundation first and then went for it.
Yeah, I suppose when you look at it though, in his terms of rebuilding Liverpool, it also took time, and you'll remember in times of that early rebuild as well, we went off like idiots at times celebrating stupid stuff like, draws against West Brom and stuff like that, and all this stupidity as well, But I suppose if you look at it, the problem that you have as well is the Arsenal job is so big, and Arsenal are such a big club, and you have a guy in here, Arteta, who's like, there's a little bit of inexperience there. He was second to Pep and stuff like that. But he's gone in. It's his first big job. You know what I mean? He's not like, let's say, Stevie, where Stevie went up and, studied underage. He managed underage teams at Liverpool and stuff like that. Then went up and managed Rangers. Then came down and managed Aston Villa. And maybe that's the pathway to Liverpool. I think with Arteta, I think he's in there. And I think it's really tough on him because he's learning on the job as well. And
yeah,
I just think it's a real tough one for him as well, because I think, if, as you said, if you could have got Conte in there in January, Conte wouldn't have gone in there unless there was something in there that says, I'm going to give you the money to sign 2 players. Because you can be guaranteed Conte didn't go into Spurs unless he sat down with Levy and said, I want at least 2, if not 3 players in here in January. And if you don't give me that, I ain't coming in. And if you try and back out of that when I do come in, I'm out of here. And I think that's the difficulty. It's the strength of the manager in terms of his character and his sort of reputation that can demand that. And I don't think Arteta's at that level. Can he get there in the next year? Maybe, who knows? I think they're going to have to give him money to spend. They know that. And I think as well with the Cronkies as well. I don't know. Surely someone advising the Cronkies is sitting there and going, if we get top 4, we get into the Champions League. And this is worth 100 million to us. But it also raises the profile of the club. It raises the amount of money we can generate through branding, sponsorship, all this kind of other stuff. Because we're now at the top table in Europe again and stuff like that. And I just don't know whether the Cronkies are that naive, are they? That's a huge amount of money, a massive amount of money. And as you said, Del, these guys are businessmen, so they talk about money. And I just don't know. I just wonder, as I said to you already in January, I just wonder if they didn't believe by spending money they would get top four. And that's why they wanted to cut the bill. And they didn't believe that Arteta could deliver it, or Edu, or the team. And they started carving up with an idea that maybe we get Europa or Europa Conference maybe at best or something like that. And that's what they were planning for. And I think, like, you know yourself, if you plan for the worst, you're only going to arrive at that. You know, you're not going to arrive at top four. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people are looking into this as well. I really believe if you get in maybe 3, maybe 4 players in the summer, somewhere in the region with good scouting of that, 25 to 30 million, maybe one on a free or something like that, and you go and you spend 100 million. You've armed him with kind of what he needs. If you bring in a real good front man, he'll get you goals and stuff like that. I'm thinking, like, I mean, you were talking, I think you were linked as well with Arturo Martinez off Inter Milan and stuff like that. He was an exceptional player and stuff like that. I don't know.
I think we need a kind of a target man. Like the way we were playing last year, if fucking Giroud was still playing for Arsenal, he would have got about at least 20, 25 goals last year. If we could get someone, I think, physical that could hold up the play better than Lacazette, had a little bit of pace and was good in the air. Because you see the amount of crosses we put into the box now, and there's no one on the end of them to head them in, really, except Gabriel got a few goals this year. But I think we need someone physical and strong up front.
Yeah. And Martinez fits that bill because he's a big boy. Yeah. He's a big boy, and he could be, and he could actually, if you could get him in there with his experience, someone like that, and you had Eddie playing off him or something like that for knocking balls down and playing balls on. Like as Irish fans, we would know the Niall Quinn, Robbie Keane kind of thing, that kind of balance or synergy or stuff like that. You never know what might could happen in there, man. And if you were to get in the likes of a Bazuma, box to box, and you get another central defender in there to go in beside Ben White or something like that, you might just be okay. And as Del said, if Torreira came back or something like that, or if you could have got Guendouzi back or something like that, I always thought Guendouzi was a right old battler in there. Absolutely.
Marseille,
I know at times he was
a bit,
yeah, but I know at times he was crazy and the old crazy tackle and bits of madness and stuff like that. But sometimes you need a bit of fire in your belly and stuff like that to get things going, I don't know. I suppose for you, Del, I mean, if Arteta, if you wanted Arteta gone and he goes, who comes in or who's available to come in? That's the other problem, isn't it, really?
Well, my number one choice would be Simeone, but there's no way on earth that Arsenal would even go for him, is because he'd fucking grab Edu and just give him a wedgie straight away, and that's the way he'd fucking rock and roll. Like the other one I would take, and just from seeing him, was Graham Potter. I think he's a very good manager. He outwitted Arsene Wenger. I think he's done it twice, actually. Did he in the Champions League when he was over in what's the name of that team? That's gone off my head there, but yeah, I just remember even looking at that game, and the bet is in the Emirates in the Champions League that time. Yeah, like they're two managers straight off the bat I would have went for. What they should have done, just going back to what you said earlier on, Niall, was sort of something like what the Irish team done with Stephen Kenny. We're going to bring in Mick McCarthy for 2 seasons. You go into the 23s and learn your trade, and then we'll go from there. I'm not saying Arteta should have went to the under-23s, but what they should have just said to him, look, Allegri at the time was available. I think Ancelotti was available as well. What Arsenal could have went and says, because he signed the same week that he went to Everton, Arteta was the same. So he should have basically just said, right, Mikel, what we're going to do is we're going to get Ancelotti for 2 seasons. We need him to sort of rebuild. You can get in contact with him if you want, but we can set you up with a team. Fucking Kroenke has Colorado, fucking whatever he has over in the MLS. You know what I mean? At least he's managing a forced team rather than just jumping from assistant manager, assistant coach, whatever, into management. Because there's a big jump there. You have to manage players, their mood swings and every sort of thing. So bring him over there for 2 seasons, learn his trade and stuff like that, and then try to bring him into the Arsenal team. Not just straight away from assistant manager into dealing with a club the size of Arsenal, because you're going to have a fan base that demand. You're going to have players, on big wages and big egos and stuff like that, and you have to manage them. Wasn't really fair on Arteta. You can't blame him for taking the job, and I never would. And look, when you took the job, I said, right, I wanted to work for him, and I've nothing against the chap, but I just think, look, he's out of his depth.
So, how do you see next season going? Firstly, I'll come to you, Niall, and then Del, I'll come to you afterwards with the question: do we need a right back and a left back because of this season? The two of them were kind of crocked.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think probably with Tierney, he's such a good player, but you're either going to have to figure out how to keep him fit, like what we did with a couple of players, or else you're going to have to get someone in there. I don't know, someone like what we did with Costas when we brought Costas in, someone with a bit of bite who isn't a massive drop off from the level that Tierney operates at. The first one that springs to mind really for me is, as we said earlier, with Brighton, Cucurella, unbelievable player if you could get him in. I know that Man City have been linked with him and it costs a few quid, but he's an outstanding player all season. He's been absolutely brilliant. Has a great engine, never fades. 90 plus minutes every match, never stops running, gives you 100%, would run through a wall for Graham Potter. Graham, by the way, is a great shout, Del. Great shout for a manager, absolutely. I love Graham Potter. I think he's a fantastic coach and stuff like that. In terms of the season, I don't know. I suppose it's going to go till Christmas, isn't it? I think he'll bring in a few players in the summer. It's going to run till at least Christmas. And it'll either go one or two ways. Either you'll do okay again this year and you'll be in that race, because I think United are going to take a bit of time to, settle down with what Ten Hag wants. I don't think he's going to solve it in one or maybe even two windows. I think it will take time. But I think the critical thing is, if you look at the moves that Aston Villa are making at the moment, if you look at what West Ham have done this season under David Moyes, they've been exceptional. Great coach as well. But Newcastle is the one that you have to keep an eye on, because they've been, since Eddie Howe went in, and bringing in the players that he did and stuff like that, and what he's done with Joe Linton and stuff like that, that could be a real dangerous situation there in terms of what they spend in the summer. The spend in the summer is going to be key to dictate whatever happens. And the thing about Arsenal is they just need to be at the forefront of that. Again, it comes down to scouting. It comes down to understanding who you need and what you want. And not only what you want in terms of your first 11, but what you want in terms of your squad. As Del said, your squad is so light on the bench and stuff like that as well. You're going to need to go out there and obviously do some deals that are kind of like players that are available on a free transfer and stuff like that, but could be potentially really good squad players. And the other thing, I suppose, is you've got such great youth there as well. You just need that blend of experience there. I mean, Thomas Partey going out injured as well was a huge loss as well. He's a guy I really, really rate. And he's a guy as well who could potentially, in the middle of the park, become a real good leader for some of this youth. You can see it. There's no lack of talent there with Martinelli, Smith, or Saka. Absolutely brilliant. But they just need that little bit of experience in there to blend with it, to make it work properly. But yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think Christmas will tell a lot, but I think the transfer window in the summer is going to tell even more, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that we should do this again, gentlemen. I think I have a perfect idea when to do it again. We'll have a little chat about maybe if you guys want to come back on after this Amazon documentary drops, and we'll see what's going to be on that. What do you think about that, Delboy? Just to close up, what can we expect to see or to not see from that? Do you think it's going to be heavily... Do you think the club are going to be really all over this and it's not going to be as open as maybe some of the other documentaries we've seen?
Yeah, I think it's going to be edited big time, because I think it was Edu or something like that done an interview, and he says, "Oh yeah, we've seen the first 2 episodes or something like that." So they've already seen the first 2. Let's say this was a month or 2 ago, so obviously they have a say in 1 or 2 things, and it's probably the Aubameyang thing is probably in there. Will they show there's probably a bust up in the dressing room once or twice? Stuff like that. I don't think we'll see the lot of it, but hopefully we will. We'll learn a bit from it anyway as fans. What way he sort of does a team talk and sets the players up, and I suppose around the training ground and stuff like that. Like even the training ground videos that Arsenal do put out on YouTube, they're very mild and they're very edited and everyone's happy and we're all friends.
Yeah. I'd say they record the first few minutes of them jogging on, and then, right, guys, the red light's off. We're going. See you later.
Yeah.
Well, you would imagine it's going to be edited in a way to push Arteta in a really good light, isn't it? I mean, that's what you would expect to happen. Shout out to Diego there in the comments as well, asking about Klopp having an eye on Saka. My view on that would be, yeah, he's a wonderful talent and stuff like that, but if Arteta isn't strong enough to not let Saka go out the door, then yeah, that's a sackable offence in itself, isn't it? Really, like, I mean, these are the guys you should never sell.
Like, I don't know if you heard that they're trying to get him a new contract at the minute, but him and his team want a buyout clause in the contract. So that says a lot to me, and it's unheard of really in England. Look, in Spain and in Italy, it's a regular thing, but in England it's not really. But it sort of tells you, look, I want a 150, 200 million buyout clause. If Liverpool or Man City really wanted him, he's a young player, and the money that you'd weigh up there buying a player like him, you have him for a good few years. He can certainly score and create a lot of goals for you. So this is what I've been saying. All these players that you just said there, Niall, the Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Saka, they're good players, but how long will they want to sort of last playing in the Europa League? Are we going to get in? Are we not going to get in? Whereas they'll be on international duty with your Man Cities, your Liverpools, your Chelseas, and saying, lads, we're challenging for titles here. Why don't you come along to us?
Yeah, I suppose my answer to that, I mean, if you talk about, you've heard of Project Youth, of course, it's spat out all the time and stuff like that. If that's what you're about, then the likes of these players can't be let go through the door. But I would reverse that on them as well. I would turn around and go, well, listen, each of those guys have a part to play in it as well. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all well and good pointing at the manager at times, and yes, he should be pointed at for a lot of things. But those guys still have to cross the white line and go out there as 11 soldiers every Saturday or Sunday or whatever it is and perform. And some of those guys at times haven't performed either as well. They just haven't got you over the line. So, as I said earlier, it's a collection of things. There's a whole collective in there of stuff that needs to be fixed and edited and changed, and a mentality needs to be changed and stuff like that. And yeah, it's okay for some of these players to come out and say, yeah, well, we want to play in the Champions League and buyout clauses and all this kind of thing, but they have a role to play in that as well. You know what I mean? Like, when you don't make top four, it doesn't just rest at Arteta's door, but the problem with it is players don't get sacked, managers do, and that's the problem. But I think those guys fundamentally have a role to play, but it's now time for the club to step up and demonstrate to the youth in there what their intention is on a world football stage in terms of European football and stuff like that. Are they really going to put it back in there again? You do have a double opportunity this year in terms of the Europa League and in terms of top four to get back into the Champions League. So you have two pathways to get back in. And there's also talk as well, I think at 24, isn't it? They're going to bring it down to 5 places, I think, in England with this new extension of the Champions League. So look, there's great opportunity there to get back to the top table in Europe. I mean, the fear as well is if you had made top 4, would that money that you'd earn off the Champions League, would that have been furnished to the manager to invest in players and in the squad and stuff like that, or would the Cronkies have taken that money? And that's another argument as well. But then you don't necessarily, do you really want to go into the Champions League and start getting slapped up by teams and stuff like that and all? And, you all remember the Bayern Munich games and the toxicity in the fan base. Remember AFTV and the boys outside the Bayern Arena going absolutely ballistic and stuff like that. That doesn't do anything for players like Smith Rowe and Saka and Martinelli. That just kills their confidence and stuff like that as well. So maybe it's a case this year. It could be a blessing in disguise that you go into the Europa League, you do really, really well, maybe bring in a few players, keep an eye on your top 4, and who knows where you might get in the Europa League, the way the draw goes or something like that. You might have you might have 2 opportunities this season coming as opposed to 1. Who knows?
Yeah. Lads, it's been a pleasure.
I'm trying to bring a bit of positivity here.
Yeah.
We need a little bit of balance as well.
Well, it's only because I love Arsenal as a club. I've told Morris before, if I didn't follow Liverpool, I'd follow Arsenal. There's no doubt about it. And I love Arsenal when they're competitive and when they're doing well. It's really important to the Premier League. I've even said it on my own channel. when I talk about the likes of Leeds coming back up into the Premier League and hopefully Nottingham Forest, there's clubs out there who I believe are Premier League clubs with their history and their legacy and all that kind of stuff. And look at Arsenal's legacy and its history. You should be at the top table of European football. You should be competitive in the league. You should be involved in title races. You should go deep into cups. There's no reason for it now. It's a process, and just hold your water for the moment and hope that it doesn't take 30 years like what I had to endure.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we have to call it a night there, but it was a pleasure having the two of you guys on. If you want to check out Niall, you can check him out on the Upper Tier podcast, link in the description of this video. If you want to check out Del Boy, he's doing vlogs now as well, so we'll get that channel in there, and of course the football content. And yeah, I think we might catch up.
Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out everyone in the chat.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do look like Brock Lesnar's son, and I will F5 a few guys. That's not
I didn't put that one in, but yeah, I seen that. I was like, I think that's a compliment anyway. Niall is just as strong as Brock.
100%.
Yeah. Thanks, lads.
Cheers,
Morris. Cheers, Del.